Hi, welcome to That Reminds Me Of, a podcast about film and the films that remind us of that film. You're here with Baron and the Doc.
And the Maestro.
Do we need another drink?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Baron, how are you?
Good, Doc. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Awesome. We've been to see the movies, or see a movie.
We have been to the movies, and we went to the Palace again, our favourite, the Palace, but a different one this time.
Yes, Westgarth.
Yeah, your first time, I believe.
In Northcote? Is that where we are?
Northcote.
Yeah. It's my first time at the Westgarth. I've walked past it many times. It looks like a great old cinema from the outside, and it is pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It's a cool part of town, cool cinema. But what did we see there?
We saw The Killer by David Fincher.
Yeah, I was kind of looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too. I think we've done a lot of festival films, and I think we just were both looking forward to something that was a little bit more like Hollywood.
We wanted something bloody fun.
Yeah.
So we went. You had the choc top again.
Yeah.
I didn't. We then
You're on
came
the
back
diet.
for our traditional Maccas.
Yes. Blew the diet.
Blew the diet. No, I only had 6 nuggets, so I'm okay. You had a frappe?
I had a frappe.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
It was monstrous.
Yes, I know.
Feeling okay?
I feel fine. I feel great, in fact. I feel ready to do an episode.
Let's do the episode.
All right.
I'm going to go straight off the bat with a synopsis. What do you reckon?
Please.
Okay, this is The Killer, as you said. David Fincher, starring Fassbender, Swinton, and others. After a fateful near miss, an assassin battles his employers and himself on an international manhunt he insists isn't personal.
He insists isn't personal.
Did we hear much insistence?
There's a lot of rules.
There are rules.
There are a lot of rules about sticking to the job and sticking to the rules. So I suppose...
Yeah.
But it is a little personal, though, isn't it, really, in the end?
Yeah, but I guess that's what they're saying. He insists it's not personal, but yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah, because he's not being paid for this job.
No.
I think that's the reason it switches over into a different realm.
And he's kind of not sticking to his rules.
Right, the rules that he repeats over and over again.
Do you know, it made me think of... I'm going to go straight into where it reminds me of.
Oh, please, jump in.
I had not meant to even say.
Okay.
But it's like, Falling Down, where Michael Douglas is just a normal guy and he gradually unravels to be a killer.
Yeah.
This is like a killer who's gradually unraveling to be a normal guy.
To be a normal guy. Yes. He does sort of protest too strongly the whole way through, right? It's constantly him saying, I'm a guy who doesn't give an F. I'm a sociopath, basically. I stick to the rules. It's all about the money, about the job. And yet every decision you see him make after a certain point is the opposite. It's slowly moving towards him getting his revenge or whatever.
Did you realise it's based on a graphic novel?
No, so I didn't know this before you and I had a quick chat afterwards. So, graphic novel.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, I don't know much about it. I did download...
Of the same title?
Of the same title. It's like it's meant to be a classic in the graphic novel oeuvre.
Great.
Does the graphic novels have an oeuvre?
I think so. It's reminding me of the Roman buildings.
Yeah, it's giving me flashbacks of mispronunciations. The graphic novel by the same name, written by Alexis Matz-Nolant, illustrated by Luc Jacquemont. And I think the illustrations with these graphic novels are just as important, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or probably more so.
It's hugely important. One thing that you'll note when you come into this film is the first act is a very repetitive, slow-moving, slow-burning thing that is driven almost entirely by this inner monologue happening with Fassbender's character. And that makes sense that it's coming from a graphic novel. It feels very graphic novel-esque. As a film experience, I gotta say, it almost lost me. That first bit, I just couldn't wait for it to be over, to be honest, because it just plays a little long. You're waiting for his plan that he's banging on about to unravel, and you're just waiting for it to happen. After that, the whole film moves with a pretty good pace, but just it's a bit heavy-handed at the start, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I was a little bit more patient because I knew I'd read the first chapter.
Right.
So
you knew where it was going.
I knew where it was going, and I was interested to see, how closely they'd stick with that tone.
Yeah.
The words were kind of nothing like the words in the graphic novel, but the vibe was, and the pace was,
Yeah.
and the interior monologue. I was wondering when I was reading it, like, how are they going to sustain this for the whole film? And while I think they needed to set it up like that,
Yep.
but then it kind of started moving along and getting pace and was worth sticking with in the end.
It felt to me like Fassbender's character and what Fincher was trying to do with that character was sort of establish early on, this is a guy who has a routine, he has strict rules, he sticks to them always, and it almost felt like that was being hammered in excessively just so that we can see him unravel, and that was the point.
Yeah, we had to know that he's got a routine.
Yeah.
That was up on Fincher's board. They must know that he has a routine.
And it's serious.
Nailed it, Fincher.
Nailed that. I would say I think you could have probably made the point in half the time.
Yeah, you could have. Yeah. Well, in the graphic novel, they kind of make that in 3 or 4
Yeah.
of the, what do you call them? The squares?
Frames?
Frames.
I guess. Yeah. Let me just mention it reminds me of then.
Well, let's not just mention it. Let's go straight in.
Let's go in.
To the point of the show.
Let's talk about references.
What did it remind you of, Barra?
After I knew that it was based on a graphic novel, I couldn't help but think about Sin City.
Yep.
And as a classic example of a graphic novel converted to film, and in that instance, it's a very, very faithful adaptation where Rodriguez has said, I'm going to take this frame for frame, I'm going to shoot it exactly the way that it was penned, and I'm not going to deviate from that. This, however, and I've looked over your shoulder and seen what the style of it is, in classic Fincher style, Fincher's sort of gone, I think I can do this better. I think I can put the camera in a better spot.
Yeah.
And he is known for saying there is one correct place for the camera to be in every scene, and he's the guy that knows where to put it. Wow. So I think what we've got is a film that does feel like it's come from a graphic novel, but also feels like a Fincher film.
I love that quote, that there's one correct place and he knows where it is.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. But does he?
Well, it's subjective really, isn't it? He is well known for a well-placed camera.
Actually, I wouldn't argue the point on him. I don't see anything not to like about his camera placement.
I agree.
If I've got any other problems, it's with other things. But anyway, should I have a crack?
Please.
Speaking of Fincher.
Yeah.
I haven't watched a Fincher film for some time, other than Mank, which I think we both saw and we were a bit lukewarm on.
Correct.
Wasn't really the typical Fincher film, I don't think.
No.
It's a deviation, passion project.
Yeah.
But last night I watched Gone Girl, which I'd never seen. And there were a lot of similarities, I thought, in the reliance on the narration, the background, inner head narration, and the pace that you get. You kind of get lines on the drip. Like each sentence is put out there. You're meant to sort of ponder it and think, oh, wow, how wonderful. Have some pause and then another sentence and another sentence. I'm not sure if I'm making any sense, but that feeling of slowness, of having to really delve into every line and sit with every line was similar in Gone Girl and in this.
Gone Girl was on my list as well.
It was.
Yeah, and I think, like you're saying, there's a tone similarity in the two films. Gone Girl also has a darkness to it and a sense of dread, and just even in the sort of the visual language of it, it feels dark, it feels heavy. There's a real mood that kind of permeates the whole thing, and it's in this film as well. You get the sense that our main character's world is dark. It's always it's slow, but it's just filled. It's thick in a way. Like the atmosphere is thick, and it feels like there's sort of dread and doom and death around the corner all the time.
And yet all that's done with kind of very wooden characters.
Yeah.
So this graphic novel, I think, is, as far as I can tell, is known for there being not much emotion on the character's face. He's very wooden.
Yeah.
Clearly Fassbender does that brilliantly, I think.
Nails that. Yeah.
But Ben Affleck and co in Gone Girl kind of do that as well. It's like they're they're just roaming through the film and not giving it
Yeah.
anything. A bit like the lead in the Rooster.
Yeah.
Remember the Aussie
Yeah.
the Aussie film in Myth where
Phoenix Ray's
Phoenix
character.
Ray,
Yeah.
where they just speak the lines
Yeah.
and let the script work without
Yeah,
bringing a lot of animation.
that's a great call. I think that was probably one of the biggest, for me, downsides of this film, is there's not a lot of life in it.
Yeah.
We've got these great actors, and they just don't seem to have much room to inject life into it. In fact, it seems like the director's note has, at every level, is to subdue everything.
Subtract the life.
Take out the life. It's not about that, this film. It's about wooden characters performing tasks that they've been trained to perform with deadly consequences. But that seems to be throughout the whole thing.
What it does to me is it puts a lot of expectation and burden on the script. Mm-hmm. Because really the script is given a lot of room to be pondered and not much action coming from anywhere else other than the words.
Yeah.
So that can either be profound and wonderful, or it can show up deficiencies.
I will point out the one section where I think we do have life abundant in this.
Is this the one place where that I was saying this is the turning point? This film has just shifted.
I don't remember when you said that.
No, I said it to myself.
Oh, okay, great. It could be.
Well, you tell me when it is.
Sure. There's an amazing fight scene in this film.
Yes.
Is that where you were thinking? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
It's beautiful because it's so dark and it's so raw and it's edge of the seat kind of stuff. Like I really, really, really liked this fight scene.
Yeah.
Thought it was one of the best directed fight scenes I've seen for a while. And it felt entirely real.
Yeah.
And the punches felt like, they were happening for real right there next to us. I loved it. Thought it was great.
I couldn't agree more. That was the absolute time where it got you by the balls.
Yeah.
And said, okay, I am a film, hear me roar. Reminded me of your mate Oldboy.
Yeah.
The fight scene in that
Great.
just does the same thing.
Yep.
And also just in some of the series that we've sat through over the years, such as True Detective, when you're watching a series and suddenly there's an episode that just blows you away. And I think in True Detective there was one which had a long, continuous fight, sort of gunfight scene.
True Detective is actually a good reference for this film as well. It has
Yes.
it has that same muted dread.
Yeah, it does. Maybe that's why I thought of it, because then suddenly you get violence in the middle of that, and there's you've felt the anticipation of violence all along, and then when it erupts,
Yes.
it has more power.
And the reason it's great is that everything else is so measured.
Yeah,
And then suddenly you've got this eruption. It all feels messy and it feels alive.
yes,
And real, and that the consequences are going to be real, and that really stands out against everything else before and after.
have we done one each? Is
Yeah.
it your turn again?
So I was really reminded of Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, have I seen it? Whose film?
Great question. Don't remember.
Okay, good film.
We'll put some text on the bottom of the frame that says who made Nightcrawler.
I'm just setting you up for failure. Sorry, you owe me one.
Yeah, I do. I'll get you back. It has this great sense of driving around at night, casing the streets, being a psychopath, and being in the mind of a psychopath who does these nasty deeds after dark in sort of American streets and so on. It has, scenes with him sort of sitting in his car, figuring out how he's going to murder somebody inside a house. It just reminds me entirely of Nightcrawler. And it has that same dark dread running the whole way through it.
These psychopath movies, I think we could probably
Yeah, totally.
sit here all night and say them, like American Psycho, for example.
Yeah.
With all his neat and tidiness, juxtaposed with his love of killing people.
100%.
That wasn't my reminds me though.
No, what else have you got?
I've got Rear Window.
Okay.
The Hitch.
I know the film, but tell me how it relates.
Well, visually,
Yeah.
in that chapter 1 of the killer, he's literally
yeah.
in a room looking through all the windows, and just how that was set up was a clear, I thought, a clearly referencing Rear Window. You're seeing not just a window here and there, but you're seeing the whole
building,
the whole
across
building.
The way.
And
Yeah.
you're seeing stuff happening everywhere, and you're seeing people move from one room to the next.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he has his routine inside his own building that he's sort of working his way through in the same way. Is it James Stewart who's in
James Stewart.
Yeah, similar.
Who's he's injured, so he's
Yeah.
stuck there.
He's in a wheelchair.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful.
But I think with Rear Window, you can go one step further and just say that he's an outsider looking in, and I think for the whole film, that's clear. He doesn't belong anywhere. He's just always looking through sort of metaphorical windows
Yeah.
into other people's lives.
People who are actually just living their lives.
Yeah.
And he's got his weird other life going on. That's great.
Yeah.
You know what it reminded me of a little bit was the opening of the new Batman film with Robert Pattinson, Horny
Yes.
Robert. You're basically seeing
Yeah.
this point of view of a building and a crime take place.
It's his point of view, and I think he's seeing something that reminds him of what happened with his parents.
Could be right.
Something like that?
Something like that.
Would you know how you were going to get me back?
Yeah.
Well, you just bloody did.
Because
Because that was my next one.
Was it?
The Batman.
No way.
The Batman starring horny
Rob.
Rob. I wrote down why it reminded me. I can't remember now. What have I got here? Man who speaks in short sentences. No, sorry. Repressed man who speaks in short
Yes.
sentences and slowly has a nervous breakdown.
Great. Great. Beautiful.
I think, yeah. I think it's all there.
It's all
It's
there.
the same thing.
Say no more.
Yeah, just no.
We don't have Zoe in this. We don't really have the love interest as such. There is sort of, but it's not played out.
It's
in the
not
same
really
way.
explored, is it?
No.
No, she's just a symbol.
Fill in your own gaps kind
Yeah.
of character. Just
We
totally.
don't even know what her face looks like because of the injuries.
Barely know what her face looks like.
Mm.
That is interesting.
Like, she looked a bit cute from what we saw.
For the audience's sake, the woman who kicks off the whole revenge thing,
Yes.
because she's targeted by
Yeah.
people who are targeting the main character, the Fassbender character. Anyway, she's a bit of a symbol. She's not really fleshed out in any way. I think it's okay
Yeah.
in this
No, I
film.
don't think it's okay.
I mean, she does have a good moment where she sort of talks about being brave for him and all of that, which was, I think,
Oh, yeah. Well, no, she did a great job.
Yeah.
With bloody limited material.
absolutely.
Yeah. But well performed.
Agree.
More animated than Fassbender.
More animated than Fassbender, probably more animated than Tilda as well, who also delivers probably one of her most subdued performances in a while.
But I like Subdued. I thought she was great.
She's still really great in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
And Fassbender, I hope no one gets interprets that I was suggesting that he's not great, because I think he's one of my favourites, and I thought he did this role to perfection.
Yeah, I think he did too. I just don't think he had a lot to really play with the direction that he was given. But he does it well. But I'm not going to walk away from this film saying, remember that great Fassbender film? Or remember that great Tilda Swinton film? It's not going to make the list of great performances for either of them, for me.
Yeah, maybe not, but I think I'll remember it. Like, I
Yeah.
think I just enjoyed watching him. I don't know how much I would have enjoyed it if it hadn't been for Fassbender. Like, it
Interesting.
really relies on him and really,
Yeah, he's got a lot to carry in this film.
yeah. Whose turn was it?
How about you go?
I think this is my last one, but
Yeah.
it plays into, you started to talk about kind of the plot, because we gave the synopsis, but we haven't really
Yeah.
revealed much about what actually happens.
Right.
And essentially this is an assassin, and he stuffs up a job, and then the other assassins come after him.
I know what you're about to say.
Then he goes and takes up.
He goes to the Continental Hotel. And
He goes
gets
to the
his-
Continental.
Gets his token, swaps them all in,
Yeah.
avenges
he-
his dog,
So
who
he's
has a similar role.
okay. So I don't even need to be here, do I? But yes, he is the thinking woman's John Wick.
Great. Perfect.
Yeah.
And actually, I almost said, and I would have been stealing your thunder again, but I almost said that fight scene reminded me a little bit of John Wick, but actually, dare I say, done better than a John Wick film.
well, not quite done better, done more sparingly. So John Wick is just that fight scene over and over and over
Yes.
again,
Yeah.
to the point where it becomes ludicrous and just becomes
It loses all its impact.
a
Yeah.
mockery of itself.
Yeah.
Because it then starts making fun of what it is.
Yeah.
But this one, because you only get one of them, it's great.
Yeah, but I think I would also just add that John Wick fight scenes are a little too clever as well, if in my opinion. Like they're elevated to
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and I do love them. The John Wick films I have a soft spot for them. They're really fun. But it becomes fantasy.
Yeah.
Whereas this felt really like
Visceral.
pretty visceral and real. It had a sense of realism to it, which I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Fassbender, he's in great shape in this, but he's a skinny guy up against a ball of muscle, and he almost dies, and you can really feel it, you know? So,
Geez, he does good though, doesn't he? Against
Yeah.
the big bloke.
yeah, good training.
Yeah. No, really good. I think that's all that reminds me. So I have, unless you've got others.
Probably the only other thing that I thought about that fight scene is there was you mentioned Park Chan-wook's film, Oldboy, but there was a Jet Li film called, I want to say it was called like Leash or Dog or something like that.
Leash or dog.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact title, but basically he's a martial art expert that was basically treated like a dog and trained to be a killer like a dog might be. And there's some fight scenes in that, and in particular there's one in a bathroom that's like really tight quarters, and the way that was filmed and how visceral that is reminded me a little bit of this fight scene as well.
I had one other note. It's not a reminds me, but what I loved was the use of the heart rate monitor.
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah,
And
me too.
Because you've got no entry point into this Fassbender character. He's
Great point.
the whole wooden thing. I'm not sure how often we can use the term wooden in the one episode, but very blank face.
Yeah.
But it just gives us a way to see, okay, hang on, there's something going on beneath the surface here. Just data, no emotion.
Yep.
But we can tell that no, he is having a horny Batman breakdown.
It's actually great. It's a really clever device.
Yeah.
And it's on the surface like it could be quite an annoying device to just overplay. You think you could overplay it quite easily, but
Yeah.
I think it's handled perfectly.
Yeah.
And just as a way of saying his heart's racing now, he's losing control for a minute. Oh, he's got it back under control. He's entering his sort of killer phase or whatever by getting it under his heart rate under 60 beats per minute or whatever it is. All of that is just, it's actually handled really well.
Yeah.
And
I
just
didn't
the little alarm that would drive me nuts, but in a sense it gives you this feeling of time passing, of him reacting to his body and to what's going on around him.
Well, time is passing,
Yes,
and I believe the cameras are just about to run out of battery,
probably.
which
Yeah.
is perfect because I reckon we're at time.
Yeah, I just want to know one last thing.
Yes.
Overall, do you like the film? Would you recommend it to others?
I really liked it. Like you, it was a slow start.
Yeah.
I was unsure. I was holding my cards close to my chest, and then they started punching on, and I said, "You got me here." And I think then I just lost myself in it and enjoyed the whole ride.
Agree. I think the film has grown on me over the time that I was watching it, and the more I think about it after leaving the cinema, the more I like it.
Yeah, I'm the same. And I think I will continue with the novel
Great.
on my Kindle. Because it's out of stock.
No way.
No one's got it. How
Yeah.
can you release this film
And
and
not
not
have books
have
everywhere?
billions of copies just waiting to be consumed? I don't know.
That's crazy. Well, till next time, Doc.
Till next time, killer.